doom scrolling on Tubi resulted in finding something I didn't know was posted, something I actually wanted to see for quite a while, and I had to give it a watch, and then I had to come on here and tell you people about it. So lucky you. 2023, 2024, Frankie Frico. Um, from the Astron Six guys, director of Psycho Gorman. You know, they did The Void and Manborg and Father's Day and The Editor. This is their first feature since The Editor. These guys are kind of known for, not, I wouldn't say parody, but like pretty spot on homage to, you know, The Editor is a really twisted comedy take on the trappings of a giallo film, and I think it really hits all of its stride. I think their version of Father's Day is way better than the Lloyd Kaufman produced one. I prefer Manborg to Kung Fury any day of the week, and I think I talked about Psycho Gorman quite a bit on the old channel I used to be on. I really enjoyed that one. So when I heard this one was happening and what the concept was for it, I was pretty excited. It is a genre that I am a big fan of, and that is the 80s Little Rubber Monster movie. This one kind of takes its cues from Garbage Pail Kids, Little Monsters, Critters 4, Munchie, that kind of stuff. It's I read somebody said it was it was Gremlins inspired, but I don't really see that. I said it's more of like a Ghoulies Go to College than anything. A lot of their regulars pop up in it. You get some of the voice actors from that are known faces on Red Letter Media, so I was excited about this one. It's I guess it's based on those 900 numbers from the 80s and the early 90s. You know, the 900 Psychic and 900, the party lines and Cry, and Freddy Krueger had one and the Boglins had one. That's what this movie kind of reminded me of. The main character of this is this guy. He's a square. He's this yuppie. He's got this beautiful girlfriend. You think they're gonna have a sex scene. It kind of starts out like something out of like softcore porn from like Cinemax or something, but it's them just holding hands, and she's unfulfilled. He's kind of a square, and he's tempted by this Frankie Freaker, Frankie Frico. I think Frankie Freaker was the animated. It was the ad I kept seeing when I worked at the other company. That dude Kieran used to always just be sitting watching hours of like YouTube videos, and he would always, and then that one with the Frankie Freaker or whatever, it's like that yellow gremlin thing, like that popped up, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and it looks like it could have been from the 80s or the early 90s, but it also looks like it's like Tim and Eric kind of thing, so I was never sure if that was a real thing or not, but that's what this seems to be aping, where it's this party line, like, oh, we're in a party, and it's got that very like rude, crude dude in your face 90s kind of comedy to it. The guy's girlfriend's going on vacation for work, and he calls the Frankie Freaker line, and the three puppets show up at his house. There's like this one that kind of looks like Chris Farley, just this Shabadoo or Shabadon't. There's a girl who kind of looks like the quick draw guy in Puppet Master, and then there's the lead one, Frankie Freaker, who's kind of I don't know. He's like, it kind of reminded me of the aquatic the fish ghoulie, but like if it was dressed like when Dan Aykroyd went undercover as a cult in Dragnet the movie. So they show up, and they create all kinds of havoc and stuff like that, and you get the overcomplicated backstory, which I really enjoyed, where this evil entity took over Freakland and punished the freaks for being freaks, and he made them all work for 900 numbers, and the Frankie Frico and his two friends were able to use the telephone lines like the Matrix to get out of Freakland and jump from party to party, but then they get sucked back into Freakland, where you just get a lot of really wonderful miniatures, and the puppet stuff. That's where it has more of the Little Monsters vibe to it. But the whole backstory thing, I think, was fun and overcomplicated. Very much like those, Garbage Pail Kids movie and whatnot. The dad from Psycho Gorman, who is also in. He's also the main character, the editor, and stuff like that. He plays our square guy's boss, and he wants him to come and help destroy evidence of cooking the books for the company. And he gets encased in glue and spends the whole rest of the movie just exchanging like weird, awkward puns while encased to the ground in glue. There's a lot of funny stuff in this movie, but for the most part, the style of it overtakes the substance of it, whereas the other ones kind of balanced. Oh, it's telling this story and it's really funny and weird. And it's telling it in the style of this type of movie, a giallo movie, it's like The Void would be something more like akin to Rob Bottin's work on The Thing. This one, it just feels like we already know where it's gonna end. You've got that very sitcom-y ending of like, we got to clean this place up. My wife's gonna be home in an hour. It's like when like a Saved by the Bell plot or something like that. And there's some funny gags in that. Like the house is completely destroyed. They spray painted butt on the wall, so he adds an E and an R, so it's butter. And like they destroyed all the artwork on the walls. So they just cover it up with a piece of paper that just says art on it. Like stuff like that is funny. They drink fart cola. It's very 90s in that regard. But you're almost 40 minutes into the movie before we go to Freakland. And then you get your character there who's sort of like when the dude gets doused in chemicals in RoboCop. There's a lot of that stuff in here. It just doesn't hang together as well as the other ones. I feel like we knew where it was going to end. Although you don't really know where it's going to end, because it turns out the wife went to gun school with the girl puppet, and she made sure that he called the Frankie Freaker line so he could have a little fun. Then they could hold hands with both hands in bed. There was those beats in there that worked. Then there's a lot of just ones that don't work, and I felt like it's definitely their weakest movie. And while it does rely on the low-hanging fruit jokes of like a Ghoulies Go to College or Munchie or something like that, from these guys, I felt like it wasn't as like smart as it could have been. They could have done more with it. It could have done more with going into the freak world. And I know that'd be a more expensive thing to do, but there's ways you could have gotten around that. Because again, they spend most of the movie in 2 locations, really. I like the mob boss guy. He's just constantly throwing candy, and he has like a human hand in the puppet, and the puppet kind of reminds me again of Little Monsters. I don't know, and I love the limitations of the puppets. I love that they never at one point, no at ever point, try to make them like realistic. Like, and there are some good gags in it. Like when they kill. He thinks he kills the Shabadoo guy, and there's this whole scene of like them crying and covering him in a sheet, and it's like very dark. Like that made me laugh. There's certain jokes that go on a really long time, and as they go and they get more awkward, they get more funny. And there's other ones just don't work. And I feel like this script just like wasn't quite there as to what it had to be for this type of movie, because I love these type of movies. I love Critters. I love Hobgoblins. I love Attack of the Beast. Was it Beast Monsters or whatever? With the little island of the little guys. But this one just felt like just the superficial element of it was enough on top of it. And coming off of something like Editor, coming off of something like Psycho Gorman, I feel like those balanced the homage with doing something new and unique with it. It's shot well. It's like I said, it's shot well. It's got some great gag. I should start over, but I don't feel like it. It's got some good gags in it. A couple times I laughed, but other times I was just like, I don't know. I feel like you could have gone somewhere else with this, knowing that you're gonna hit those traditional Cinemax beats. Knowing that you're gonna do the sitcom style ending. Saw that coming from a mile away. I feel like you could have done that and then subverted it a little bit more and been a little bit more interesting with it. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't bad. It's just not my favorite of their movies. And then it bums me out because the whole thing of like calling the 900 number and then the puppet showing up and creating havoc. And I think I've talked about it before. In 2015, I think it was, or 2016. The producer I work with a lot had reached out to Tim Clark, the guy who helped create the Boglins, and I had written a kids movie for another guy, Mark Polton, comic book writer, and the producer I was working with met with Tim Clark and said, "Hey, would you be interested in? Would we be able to option the rights to put together a Boglins movie?" And he gave us X amount of time to do it. I sat down and I wrote a kid-friendly creep show, an anthology movie about the Boglins, and each one, because the toys I grew up loving, they came in like a wood crate, and on the back of them it had the Book of Bogology on it. So I wrote it as if the Book of Bogology was kind of like the never-ending story, like all the stories that we're getting. And it would be very clear that it was a Boglin telling the story, and at the end when they flip the camera around and it'd be like, and it was a Boglin telling the whole story the whole time, and everybody behind the scenes were also Boglins making the movie. Like, yeah, no, we know, we didn't hide that. Was that part of the script? He's like, oh, we're gonna start the whole thing over. Then the credits go backwards and all this. But I wrote this kids thing, and in one of them was 1-900 Boglins, because back in the day there used to be a Boglins 900 number, and and the ads were on all the time. So I did one of my shorts was 1-900 Boglins, where this kid Joey doesn't get his parents' permission, and calls the Boglins. They show up at his house and they cause havoc and all this kind of stuff. And then his dad gets the phone bill and then sees all the destruction that was had, so they have to help clean everything up. But they make things so much worse that the parents just tell them that, like, to leave, and then they leave Joey, who they think his name is John, and they're like, yeah, leave John alone, he's a good kid. And he's like, his name's Joey. He's like, I've been calling him John this whole time. That's very embarrassing. It's this fun little quirky thing. But then seeing this movie, and I was like, God damn it, man, it's another one somebody beat me to. So yeah, Frankie FREAKO. I missed it in the theater, and it had a limited run. It was playing at the Emmaus Theater up here, which is where Metz and I saw Sallow, and I went and saw The Life Aquatic. But yeah, I don't know, it was interesting enough, but I felt like, coming from those guys and loving that genre the way I do, I expected a little bit more. Like, it's hard to reach the levels of what they did with the editor and stuff like that, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more with this one. And it just seemed like the general idea of just having the puppets was enough for them. And I didn't think the puppets were that interesting looking. Even Frankie FREAKO, I feel like you could have had a more interesting design for that character, especially if you're going with like the 90s, rude dude guy thing. But whatever. So that's my low energy review of Frankie FREAKO. It's on Twitter. It's on Tubi. Again, I should restart. I'm so tired. It's on Tubi. Give it a look. Let me know what you think of it. And what is your favorite Little Rubber Monster movie? Because I want to make one day. I have one written called Bite Size, which is Ghoulies meets Jaws. I still want to make one day. So that's it. Frankie FREAKO.